Last Monday morning, your boss sent you a message on Slack. 3 words. You're a rock star, that little flicker of warmth in your chest. It was real, but that message wasn't a reward. It was a verdict. From that day on, for the next 2 years, you'll find yourself more exhausted, less able to refuse, more dependent on his approval. And the starting point was that one praise that sounded the gentlest of all. Today, we're going to dissect the most gentle and the most inescapable form of manipulation. In the American workplace, it is called the label cage. Let me start with some data. Gallup's State of the Global Workplace reports have repeatedly shown one finding over the past few years. Employees labeled as high performers by their companies have a significantly higher burnout rate than ordinary employees. SHRM research also shows that those identified as top talent work an average of more than 20% longer hours than their peers in the same role, but their pay raises don't increase proportionally. What does this mean? That label made you do more work, but it didn't make you more money. Why? Stanford psychologist Dweck spent decades on experiments and found something no parent wants to believe. Children praised with "you're so smart" are more likely to avoid challenges than children praised with "you worked really hard," because the former are afraid of losing the label. Move that mechanism into the workplace, and that is the topic of today's episode. I'm going to break down for you how the sentence "you're a rock star" through 5 stages turns an ordinary employee into a human machine that doesn't know how to refuse, doesn't know how to rest, and doesn't even dare to have feelings. If you start to feel it sounds familiar by stage 3, stop and think about it. That is not a coincidence. The first sentence, "You're a rock star, you're killing it. I don't know what we'd do without you." These sound like statements of fact, but their real function is what sociologist Howard Becker described in 1963, labeling. The thing about a label is, it is not about what you did. It is about what you are. You did a great job on the deck. That is evaluating behavior. You're a rock star. That is defining identity. What is the difference once you're defined as a rock star? Everything you do is no longer neutral. Do well. It is expected. Do poorly. It is what is going on with you lately. Notice the wording. It is what is going on with you, not this thing wasn't done well. The problem has been transferred from the task to you as a person. And the label is one-sided. He gave it, you didn't accept it. You didn't sign anything, but the contract is already in effect. The second sentence, I'm giving this to you because you're the only one I trust with it. This is a very typical line in the American workplace, and it usually shows up in a one-on-one meeting or in an email sent at 5 p.m. on a Friday. At this stage, the label starts to cash in. Notice the words, the only one I trust. It is not describing a fact. It is manufacturing social expectation. Once a sentence is spoken out loud, especially in a team email with everyone copied, it becomes a default setting that everyone accepts. And then you find something terrifying. Refusing this task is no longer an I'm at capacity issue. It becomes, so you're not the one he can trust after all. It becomes, so he was wrong about you. It becomes, so the Rockstar label was a mistake. This is what Robert Cialdini called the commitment and consistency principle in his book Influence. People will, in order to maintain an image they've already been assigned, make concessions they wouldn't otherwise make. And the most insidious part is this. That commitment wasn't made by you. Someone else committed for you. You're just too embarrassed to back out. There is a scene in HBO's Succession that anyone who has seen it will remember. Logan Roy looks at Kendall and says, "You're my number 1 boy." In that moment, Kendall's eyes light up. But from that moment on, he can never walk out of that room again. For the rest of his life, every time he wants to rebel, leave, do his own thing. That line, "my number one boy," echoes in his head and pulls him back. That Slack message from your boss does the exact same thing. The third sentence, "this isn't like you, is everything okay?" The timing of this sentence is critical. It always shows up after you've taken on 3 or 5 tasks, beyond your job description, after weeks of answering emails at 11 p.m. The moment you make your first small mistake, notice the syntax. This isn't like you. Not, is the workload too much? Not, did I ramp you up too fast? It is, this isn't like you. The problem is, once again, being put back on you as a person. What do most people do at this point? They don't push back, they panic. What are they panicking about that the Rockstar label might be slipping? So the first thing they do isn't to push back, it is to prove themselves harder. Reply on Slack at midnight, open the inbox on weekends. Attribute every problem to, "yeah, I haven't been at my best lately." This is a variant of what psychology calls learned helplessness. You don't feel like you can't do anything. You feel like, if I just try a little harder, I'll deserve that label again. But what you don't realize is that label was designed from the beginning. To be one you can never quite live up to. The fourth sentence, "I see big things for you here, just hang in there." This sentence shows up at one of your performance reviews. Or in the week when you're so exhausted, you finally start updating your LinkedIn. What is brilliant about it is it promises nothing. No promotion, no raise, no timeline. It just renews the label one more time. But that one renewal has a huge psychological effect. Because by this point, you've already invested too much. Sunk cost makes it impossible to just walk away. You think, just hang on for one more quarter. Deliver one more project, then he'll come through. But he won't come through because the entire point of this mechanism is to keep you burning fuel in the self-justification loop, not to actually reward you. Behavioral psychology has a concept called intermittent reinforcement. The slot machines in Las Vegas are designed on this principle. Not every pull gives you a reward. Just every once in a while, an offhand compliment. A shout-out in the all hands, a CEO email with your name copied, so you never know when the next one is coming. And so you don't dare leave the machine. That line from your boss, "I see big things for you," that is a coin the machine spit out. The fifth sentence, "honestly, no one else on the team can do this." It has to be you. By this stage, you've been trapped. But you don't know you've been trapped. Because this sentence sounds like the ultimate validation, you're indispensable. But notice the flip side. It has to be you means this thing has to be done by you. No one else can do this means you can't delegate it out. This isn't recognition, it is binding. Your irreplaceability is exactly the reason you can't refuse. And the deepest cost is, by this point, you've realized you can no longer evaluate yourself by any external standard. You can only judge today's worth by your boss's reaction. His tone of voice, whether his next email opens with "hey" or addresses you by name. This is what French philosopher Michel Foucault called disciplinary power. The highest form of control isn't forcing you to do something. It is making you actively identify with the person evaluating you. You're not working for yourself anymore. You're working for that label. At this point, you might ask, are they doing this intentionally? My answer is, in most cases, no, it is not intentional. But the effect is the same. Because the label cage isn't the invention of one toxic boss. It is the default operating system of the entire corporate hierarchy. Hierarchies need the kind of capable people who don't refuse. To fill in the gaps left by management mistakes, broken processes, sudden crises. And the cheapest way to recruit them isn't a raise, it is a label. A high performer label is worth about half a year's bonus. An indispensable label is worth about 2 years of invisible overtime, and none of this costs the company a single dollar on the books. So you have to understand this. That label isn't a gift. It is the interface the company uses to extract value from you. Recognizing this mechanism isn't about becoming cynical. It is about taking back the power to evaluate yourself. 3 signals to check whether you're in the label cage. First, after work, do you find yourself lying awake at night, anxious over a single unanswered Slack message? Second, when you refuse a task, is your first reaction, will my boss think I've changed? Third, when you evaluate your state today, are you using your boss's voice? If 2 out of 3 apply, that label has already grown into your skin. The first step to breaking it isn't to quit, it isn't confrontation. It is a very simple sentence. The next time he praises you on Slack, say to yourself silently, "This is a description, not a definition." Replace "I am a rock star" with "I did this one thing right." Restore identity back to behavior. That cage starts to loosen from this sentence on. Next episode, we're breaking down a more hidden mechanism. Your boss singling you out for praise in an all hands looks like recognition. It is actually isolation. The tactic is called the public praise trap. If someone you know is also stuck in one of the stages I described, share this video with them. Drop a comment, tell me which stage started sounding familiar. See you next time.